Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. 2 OECS countries' prime ministers meet with African Export-Import Bank officials. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 24th February 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis met with Chairman of the African Export-Import Bank, Professor Dr. Benedict Orama, and his team. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline reports.
A press release from the government said Dr. Orama highlighted the historic agreement between St. Kitts and Nevis and Afreximbank to forge deeper economic, cultural, and diplomatic ties with the Caribbean and the African continent. Of note, Dr. Orama underscored future initiatives for St. Kitts and Nevis on renewable energy, industrial parks, advantages for agriculture, enhancing trade with avenues like the Intra-African Trade Fair, and positively exploiting the country's vibrant creative economy. On February 17th, St. Kitts and Nevis became the first CARICOM nation to sign an agreement with Afreximbank when Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew signed the Memorandum of Understanding during the 44th meeting of the Conference of the CARICOM Heads of Government in the Bahamas. On Monday, the Cabinet also welcomed representatives from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB, to discuss the legislative agenda for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, which remain outstanding in St. Kitts and Nevis to date. Mr. Timothy Antoine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, relayed the importance of the timely passage of legislation to support regional economic development. Dr. Terence Drew gave the ECCB the assurance that the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party administration would bring the requisite outstanding legislation to Parliament in quick order. The Cabinet will be engaged in a 2-day leadership and governance training workshop on February 23rd and 24th. The training will cover promoting good governance, effective public sector management, ethics, integrity, and leadership competencies. This training will be facilitated by Dr. Roger Koranteng, Advisor and Head of Public Sector Governance at the Commonwealth Secretariat. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
In the meantime, Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown met with the African Export-Import Bank officials. Also, Charles Jr. of ABS News gives us a report.
Prime Minister Gaston Brown, alongside members of his cabinet, met with the bank's president, Benedict Okechukwu Orama, and OECS Secretary General Dr. Didacus Jules, among other executives. Speaking ahead of the meeting, Prime Minister Brown says this country is intent on advancing its developmental agenda.
I believe there will be some opportunities, and you can be assured when it comes to exploiting opportunities, our government is perhaps among the most effective within the region, and we will, as we meet with them today, determine exactly how we move forward.
There is a loan facility with the bank. However, the Prime Minister says his administration is wary of entering any further debt arrangements.
We are more interested in equity investments instead of loans because we are relatively highly leveraged, and our interest would be to look at the investors who they will bring to the table, and if they can fund these private investments, then certainly we will participate. But in terms of the government itself borrowing, we'll be a little reluctant to take on any more debt at this time.
The bank had initially made available $1.5 billion financing to CARICOM territories in September last year. Education Minister Darrell Matthew had then signed the initial agreement on the sidelines of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. For ABS News, I'm Ursula Charles Jr.
In other news, growing need to address illegal migration in the Bahamas. More in this ZNS News item.
Despite the consequences and dangers, illegal immigrants of various nationalities continue to end up here in the Bahamas, albeit not their first choice. In 2022 alone, a reported 4,748 people were repatriated. All signs point to that trend continuing this year.
In January of this year, some 570 persons were repatriated. Between the 1st and the 14th of February 2023, some 454 deportations were taken. Madam Speaker, this totals 1,024 deportations for the first 6 weeks of this year. If present irregular migration trends continue, and from all indications it will, we will experience another record-breaking year.
And according to Immigration Minister, the Honorable Keith Bell, those repatriations not just focused on one country, as there have been flights to Haiti, Cuba, Guyana, Dominica, the United States, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Brazil, and Azerbaijan. No doubt, a costly exercise. According to the minister, in one case, a Chinese national in custody since 2018 was only recently repatriated.
The overall cost of repatriation for 2022 was some $1,506,077.10. Since my last communication, for this year, for the 1,024 persons repatriated, the government has had to spend some $326,257.91.
As for the present makeup at the Jamaica Road Detention Center?
At the Jamaica Road Detention Center, there is a total of 180 Cuban nationals, 97 Haitian nationals, other nationalities 33. And so in context, Madam Speaker, we see that there are twice as much Cuban nationals than there are Haitians in our custody at this time.
No word on when this group will be flown back home.
Meanwhile, a 21-year-old man was remanded after being charged with threatening to kill Bahamas' Prime Minister Philip Davis.
The man, identified as Isaac Roberts, denied the accusation when he made his initial appearance in the Magistrates Court of making a death threat on February 18. Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt remanded him to prison until Thursday, when he will return for a bail application. The charges against Roberts comes nearly 2 weeks after a 58-year-old man was questioned for making similar death threats against Davis, who led the Progressive Liberal Party (PLP) in September 2021, defeating the incumbent Free National Movement (PNF) government of Dr. Hubert Minnis. The police said that around 8:20 a.m. local time on Saturday, a man called Central Police Station and threatened to kill Prime Minister Davis. On February 3rd, the Office of the Prime Minister received 2 anonymous death threats over the phone in a span of 15 minutes.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Bunji Garland's Hard Fete is the 2023 Visit Trinidad Road March champion winner. This is the first solo road march win for the Viking of Soca. Here is more from this TTT News item.
Congratulations are in order for the new Road March champions, Ian Bunji Garland Alvarez and Fayan Lyons Alvarez. The Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization TUCO issued its congratulations to the husband and wife team as their power soca hit Hard Fete dominated the competition. The song played 135 times. Coming in second was Come Home by Nyla Blackman Thornhill, playing 106 times, and playing 50 times was Like Yourself by Marshall Montano. The Viking and Viqueen grabbed the $250,000 grand prize and a place in the Road March 91-year history as one of the most popular songs on the road. Calling it a people song with a people story from a particular era, the Viking took to social media thanking God, his wife, team, band, supporters and fans for the tremendous love for the song to the very end. Viqueen Fayan Lyons Alvarez on her social media congratulated her husband on his historic win. And soca songstress Nyla Blackman also sent her congratulations to the Road March King, noting her admiration as an artist, stating from day one in this Road March race, it has been nothing but love. Ayana Carter, TTT News.
There was a proposal by the Justice Minister of Jamaica, Delroy Chuck, in Parliament on Tuesday, seeking legislative amendments to the crime bill. Minister Chuck says criminals are getting less prison time regardless of the gravity of offences. CVM Live has more.
Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, speaking in the lower house Tuesday, is opining new legislative amendments to the crime bill specifically towards sentences, minimal and maximum prison terms. The minister says a joint select committee is to be held for a thorough and comprehensive revision of the amendment acts concerning sentence reductions.
It is the government's intention to put this bill before a joint select committee for further consideration and interrogation. At that juncture, I would also wish to invite discussions surrounding the framework established in the Criminal Justice Administration Act as it concerns the reduction of a sentence upon a guilty plea.
The minister further indicated the reduction of sentences does not reflect the seriousness of the offences. This, he notes, have left the victims of family members feeling irate and unsatisfied with the process towards justice. He reiterates the Plea Agreement Negotiation Act of 2017 is inclusive of all parties involved.
Is robust enough to ensure that all the relevant parties, particularly the victims of the crimes and their families, have their say in determining what justice looks like in the circumstances, whilst concurrently increasing the court's disposal rate. Madam Speaker, in the light of the foregoing, I will submit these matters for consideration to the Joint Select Committee.
The minister says murder is a major concern that needs to be addressed, this while adding this has a negative reflection on Brand Jamaica. Opposition leader Mark Golding, while agreeing with the minister, highlights the Negotiation Act has also proven effective.
I actually feel that system has worked very well to now. That's not to say it's perfect, it isn't. And that's not to say it can't be improved, it can. You know, we've had the benefit of 8 years of experience with it, but it has significantly contributed to the backlog reduction in the criminal courts.
Javine McLean, CVM Live.
American Airlines has extended an apology to Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who, together with his Vincentian counterpart Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, fell victim to the airline's policy as they were departing Guyana recently after attending the energy conference there.
The Guyana Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the airline has refused to allow the two prime ministers who were in Georgetown attending the 2023 International Energy Conference and Expo to check in through the VIP lounge at the Cheddi Jagan International Airport. The Foreign Ministry said the Guyana government previously protested this position taken by American Airlines against its own senior government officials, but without success. In a February 20th letter, American Airlines Managing Director, International Government Affairs Robert Frederick offered his sincerest apology for not proactively approving the request for the expedited treatment and the inconvenience caused during the Prime Minister's departure from Guyana's Cheddi Jagan International Airport.
Hubbards is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.